Thank you. Welcome to Queen City Toastmaster. Okay, I'm just kidding. And this is going to be a great meeting. We have Turk Akabe, former Queen City member. He's going to talk about doing TED Talks. We have Sarah Mary from South Park. She's going to be talking about plant-based food. You might have heard her speak before. She's just doing it again because she's practicing for her own TED Talk. We have our guest, Jennifer, right? Jennifer. She's going to talk to us in a few weeks about starting a podcast because we have to do that as part of our pathways. And she's just here to observe to see how our club works. And I've been promoting Turk by saying, who doesn't want to do a TED Talk? And I was thinking when I started Toastmaster, that would be me. I would not want to do a TED Talk. It would be too scary. But if you continue the process of Toastmasters, you come week after week, there come a time where you're like, I could do a TED Talk. And Turk's going to tell us the mindset and how to do a TED Talk. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our presiding officer, President Vanessa Waller.
Thank you, David. And thank you, everyone, for showing up and supporting this week's edition of Queen City Toastmasters. For those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Vanessa Waller. I'm the current president, but not for long. This is actually a little bittersweet because this is my last week kind of introducing the meeting as president, as Elvis Lopez will be taking my place next Tuesday as the presiding officer. But I'm glad I get to do it one last time. So usually to start off our meetings, we like to start by welcoming our guests. And I know we have one guest here on Zoom, but I see a room full of people and I think there are some new faces. So if someone in person wouldn't mind introducing our guests, that would be wonderful. It looks like that's Sean, who's got the mic.
Yeah, hi, Vanessa. Thank you very much. We do have a few guests in our room today. I'll start off with Jennifer. Jennifer, can you introduce yourself once more? Thank you.
Hey, everybody. My name's Jennifer Busco. I was invited here by David. I'm going to be a guest in just a few weeks to talk about starting a podcast. So I've had one season of my podcast that launched last October, and I'm just here to check y'all out. I'm so happy to be here, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. And we have another member as well, I believe. No? Eugene introduced. Eugene is a former Queen City Toastmasters. So Vanessa, I will turn it back over to you if we have any guests online on Zoom.
Wonderful. Well, thanks, Sean. And we do have one guest joining us. I got to speak to him briefly. This is Shaheed Brooks. He's joining us on Zoom. And Shaheed, would you mind just telling us how you found out about us and what your interest is in joining Toastmasters tonight?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Shaheed Brooks. I discovered Toastmasters on my own. I love to watch public speakers. And so I happened across one of the world champion speeches of Toastmasters. And ever since then, I've just been doing my research. And so I'm here as a guest to see how everything goes. I'm very excited.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you. We're excited you're here. Awesome. So with that, I know we have an exciting meeting lined up. And I believe, David, am I correct that we're waiting on our Toastmaster of the evening and we may want to have an intermediate Toastmaster to get us started?
Yes, I'll go ahead and get us started.
Wonderful.
Okay. All right. Thank you much. And Andrea Chocolate Butterfly Williams was our Toastmaster. She's not here for some reason, but I'll go ahead and get started. Sometimes she does a grand entrance, but I'll go ahead and get us going because we want to hear from both our speakers. And I'm going to start with our inspirational speaker, Junior Gomez, who's a newer member, and he's always inspirational.
Hello, guys. My name is Junior Gomez, and today I'll be giving an inspirational thought. Expectations. We all have expectations, whether that's from our employees, the people around us, mostly our relationships, and of us. And sometimes expectations can be good. They are great. They set standards for us. They set standards for the people around us. But sometimes they're just way too high. Sometimes we expect so much of ourselves that we don't allow ourselves to make mistakes. We don't allow ourselves to stand up here and stutter, say, or, and. And I'm here to tell you that it's okay. We're here because we expect to be better at public speaking, letting go of the nerves. But I'm here to say that it's okay to mess up. It's okay to say and, or, because that's why we come here. We come here to get better. We come here to do the things that are going to push us to the next level. So today, let go of your expectations and allow things just to be instead of how they should be. Thanks.
All right, so we got our inspirational speaker, but our Toastmasters here. Are you ready, Andrea? No. I'll give you 1 minute. I said you always make a grand entrance, so you didn't mean to. All right, all right. She's out of time. All right, we're at the. I didn't introduce your theme or anything. You're now going to be going to Grammarian.
All right. Meeting on point. So he's going to show us how to end this on point and get out of the meeting. Sorry, I don't think it's a he today. Wait, let me, it is him. Okay. Let me make sure I said a he and then I said, wait a minute. So we're going to make sure that we start on point. That's the problem with transition lens. They get dark in the inside and I can't see. So our grammarian today is Eric Lasser, and I believe he's online.
Thank you, Andrea. We lost you a little bit, so didn't hear everything that you said, but we did hear what Junior said, which was actually a perfect segue to the grammarian's role. And for those who are unfamiliar with Toastmasters, the role of the grammarian is to identify any of those filler words that people use when they speak, such as and, so, and to point those out to people at the end of the meeting so we're aware of trying to improve that aspect of our speech. The other role of the grammarian is to identify proper and improper use of phrases and words and to point those out to the group too. So I look forward to hearing mostly proper, but if improper, then that's okay too, words and phrases. And finally, the role of the grammarian is to identify the word of the day. And the word of the day is distinguish. And it's defined as to recognize as distinct or different, to set apart, often in a positive way. So for example, the speaker distinguished herself because of her informative and entertaining speech. And I will put the word and the definition in that sentence in our chat, and I'll be back later in the meeting to give my full report. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Those in house. One more time. The word of the day.
The word of the day is distinguish, D-I-S-T-I-N-G-U-I-S-H.
Thank you for that, Toastmaster Eric. We're going to move on. And our timer for today, okay, is Cameron. So Toastmaster Cameron, would you like to come and explain your role?
Yes. Well, first of all, I'll use the word of the day. Eric, you look very distinguished with that white beard of yours. So I'm the guy that's going to help get us out of here on time. So you're welcome. So our first speaker tonight is going to be Turk, and his is between 40 and 50 minutes. I'm kidding. It's 10 to 14. So at 10 minutes, I'll give him the green light. And then at 12 minutes, he'll get the yellow light. And then at 14 minutes, he will get the red, giving him 30 seconds to wrap up. For our second speech, Sarah, you've got a 5 to 7. So 5, then 6, she'll get the yellow, and then 7, she'll get the red light. Table topics are going to be between 1 and 2 minutes. So 1 minute 30, then 2, and then our evaluations are 2 to 3. So 2, 2.5, 3. All right, back to the chocolate butterfly.
Thank you. All right, Cameron. Thank you, Cameron, for explaining your role. And so we're going to go into our speech because we're excited to have a guest. Oh, I'm sorry. We have a ballot counter today, and I was skipping it over it. And I do see Jamel. We have a guest in the house. Our sister. I'm sorry. He's not a guest. He's our sister. He's from the sister. He's family. I love Jamel. He knows that. So Jamel is our ballot counter. He's going to explain his role today.
Thank you so much. Yes, as the ballot counter, I'm going to count the ballots. So what I'd like for you to do is, for the people who are doing it in person, after you've completed your table topics, after you've done your impromptu speech, there'll be a vote, there'll be a count. And so at the bottom of your little cards there that should be sitting in front of you, you'll select who you thought was the best speaker, and then number 2, and I think there's a spot for number 3. So anyway, you'll put that on there, tear it off, and then I will walk around and collect the ballots. And if you are online, you will send that tally to whoever you think was the best speaker to ClubView, right? Send that message to ClubView. I'll walk over, I'll tally, add it up, and then I'll give an award for the best table topics master. So with that, I'll turn it back over to our Toastmaster of the day, the chocolate butterfly.
I'm going to have him come and announce me every time I come in. And as we were talking about our dream sequence, the next step in the dream sequence is to actually believe in your dreams. And I want you not only to write down what it is that you want out of Toastmasters, but what you believe Toastmasters will give you. And with that, I'm going to turn that over to our first speaker, our guest today, and we thank you for coming. David, did you want to introduce this? Okay.
Thank you much. So Turk is our guest speaker. He is a former Queen City member. He is a veteran of the United States Air Forces. Obviously, with the name Turk, he's from Turkey, right? He's an author and a public speaker. And I asked him to come here tonight to tell us about his TEDx talk. He did a TEDx talk entitled Being an American. And he's going to give us a little insight on being a TED talker. So please welcome Turk Akabe.
Thank you. Fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests, and those people on the computer world. Oh, good. So you remember when you're little, this little, and then you're always fantasizing. Now, I love soccer. We call it football, but I want to know my audience. So when you're little, you always want the game on the line, a few seconds left, you take the ball, you run, move people, shoot, score, goal, and you are on top of the world. I used to be that kid. And then reality happened. I realized how sucky I was at the sports. There are 2 types of people in this world. One, that when the game is on the line, they want the ball. Michael Jordan's, LeBron's, Kobe Bryant's. And then there are those of us like me. I don't even want to be on the pitch. I want to be on the sidewalk because that pressure is way too much. So reality meets dreams. Since we're talking about dreamscapes, one thing that I learned throughout my life is, in order for us to reach the dreams that we have, first thing we have to do is to wake up. Because we can spend an entire lifetime dreaming about things. Ooh, one day I want to go to Paris. Ooh, one day I want to visit America. Ooh, one day I want to go to Ephesus. Ooh, one day I want to give a TED talk. When I gave my TED talk, famous last words, right? I remember being super, I'm going to say third time, super scared. I'm in the backstage, I'm sweating, and I'm thinking, holy shit, this could go really ugly. Now, I began appreciating long time ago of the athletes who practice 4 years for an Olympics, and then they show up. I've always been impressed with people who can turn it on command, because I've never been that person. In fact, unless you're an old timer, you don't know. The reason that I came to Toastmasters wasn't so I could speak better in front of public. It was for me to learn how to shut up, because a typical talk for me was 1.5 hours. I came to Toastmasters. I didn't even warm up till minute 9. So I came to Toastmasters one time. I said, holy crap, this guy can tell a story in 7 minutes where it takes me at least 14. I got to do that. So I'm thinking, holy crap, this is real. Because I was dreaming and I was like, oh, I'm going to give a TED Talk one time. And then they called me, they said, hey, would you like to give a TED Talk? I said, hell yeah, I'd do a TED Talk. I have a story to tell. And I was really excited. And then I get off the phone, they had a quick Zoom. They're like, yeah, we'd like to have you. I said, great. And then we get off and I was like, holy crap, I'm going to give a TED Talk. And then we're talking about stress and pressure, and then stress and pressure. It's one thing to be here in Queen City Toastmasters when we're amongst friends. And I know your smiley faces are amazing. And I know you're here, even if I suck, even if I have done the worst job ever, at the end of it, you're going to clap. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But in a TED Talk, while we're going through, and I'm thinking, holy crap, this is being broadcast live around the world. Well, my mom, who's super proud of her son, told everybody. And I'm thinking, don't choke, dude. Don't choke right now. This is going to suck really bad. So then I gave myself the pep talk I heard Michelle Obama gave to Barack Obama when he gave that big speech in Democratic Convention back before he was a president, where I watched it live and cried. And I said, we have our first Black president. And then that speech was moving. The whole nation moved. And later on, they were talking about that speech. And Michelle Obama said to Barack Obama before the talk, gave a little bump, said, don't fuck up. So I was thinking, that's very appropriate for this, because I'm really nervous. I've done this speech hundreds of times. I mean, most of you, or at least David, heard it 20 times here. I gave that speech until people's ears were bleeding. They were tired of me saying this story about my trip to America. But when the rubber meets the road, is that the right word? Yeah. It's a big difference, because at that moment, you have to show up and you have to deliver. And then everybody's watching. Now, it is true, our inspirational speaker really touched up to something, that sometimes our expectations are so high, we don't want to fail, or we don't give ourselves an opportunity or freedom to fail. And I was thinking, if I'm going to fail, at least I'm going to fail epically. Because I was thinking, worst case scenario, I'm going to be on YouTube for the rest of my life. This thing is going to, follow me. Then I remembered, maybe nobody's going to watch. So it turned out to be super successful for me. It was really good. It actually made a lot of sense to a lot of people. A lot of people are connected. Audience was really good. It was somewhere in California, I think about 250 people. Nice, good turnout, and cameras and all these things that were happening. An absolutely surreal experience. And I owe it all to myself for practicing. Practicing. Now, for those of you who don't know me, the accent is not Alabama. English is my second language. I like to be good at things that I like to do, because I don't like to be made fun of, because I make fun of myself all the time. So, and I'm a ferocious reader. And I'm always I'm interested on people who were nothing, then became something. So if your dad lent you $1 million and you're in real estate, that's really good. Good for your dad. But if you are washing dishes and then you became this, then you became that, and then you went up and then you went up, I like that story, because that's what resonates with me, because I started at the bottom and then I'm working my way up like a little tadpole, just moving up. So that's always impressive to me. And one of those people who actually, against the odds, made something of himself is Abraham Lincoln. And he is quoted by saying, luck is when opportunity meets readiness. So before I was giving a TED Talk, I was giving a TED Talk. Now, David can tell you, and other people who were here will tell you, I don't take this spot for granted. I'm showing up every time. My goal is to give it all, lay it all. Let's see how it plays out. That practice by itself is the key ingredient for success in life. As speakers, and are here as speakers, it's important, especially if you want to be a TED speaker. I'm not a spokesperson for this. I'm just like you guys who happen to have a few lucky breaks. In that lucky breaks, I was prepared. But you have to have a story. That story has to want to come out. If you are dreaming about giving a TED Talk and you're just dreaming about it, it can't come to you. Universe doesn't work like that. It will be impossible for universe to come and give you a TED Talk. It just doesn't happen. You just have to do your reps. We had a member here. He quote this to me. I don't remember saying it, but as you can already tell, I say a lot of things. And what he said that I said one time, this is our dojo. Now, this sounds like me, but I don't remember saying it. And in dojo, you're not really competing against other people. You're actually competing against yourself just to get it better, get yourself better. So when you're doing your kata or whatever you're doing, it's always for that muscle memory. So when it happens, when those three people jump, you're like, what? And then it's just muscle memory. So for me, it was always like that. It didn't matter. Whoever was saying, hey, Turk, I want you to come and give us a talk. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll do it. I'll come and talk. And then they said, what do you want to talk about? I said, what do you want to talk about? And then at that moment, only thing that I had to do is just remember that I'm the vessel. I'm not here to, I'm just, whatever is coming through is coming through. My job is to kind of guide this conversation, guide this knowledge, and share it with you. So going back to the TED Talk mindset, it's critical for you to have a story, not just your story. Hey, this is my story, and I want to sell you this. And look at me, I'm a peacock. TED people will not like that. You have to have a story that goes with the theme that's going to make an impact on people. I started with an entirely different talk. I've done some subliminal coaching. I wanted to tell them about the importance of mindset. And then in that process, they said, dude, this sucks. There's a bunch of people who does this already. But I bet you have a different story. And I was like, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And they said, hey, this theme is bridging the gap. And you're an immigrant. We need someone like you to talk about your immigrant experience. I was like, yeah, I can do that anytime. I mean, I do that all the time anyway. So that's how it came to be. But working on the storytelling is the most important part of it. And second is, I think there's a cadence to TED Talk. It's a little bit slower. It has a little bit swagger to it. And then there's a little bit confidence. And then when you show up, you're actually delivering that. There's a pretty consistent template to TED Talks. And then you have to be able to tell your story in 16 minutes. So that's the part, being able to move an audience globally, that people who are listening to what you're saying in 16 minutes, for them to, you want to take your audience, just like your icebreaker, just like your prepared speeches, but you want to be able to take your audience from where they are to where you want to take them. And in that journey, their life should become better. Madam Toastmaster. Sorry. Q&A, yeah. Q&A. Santa, one of those Santas in California. 2 years, 3 years? Yeah. No, I've actually, there was another TED talk they asked me to give right after it. You know, on a TED stage, there are people who are looking for other speakers in a TED stage. And so somebody approached me and they were looking for a shorter speech. They was quick going for it. I didn't want to do it. It took it was quite a bit of drained on my soul to be prepared for it. No. So there are people, and if anybody who wants to get a hold of, I know some people who can open some doors for you that I met through the process. This was a total lucky break that somebody heard my contest speech that I was giving here. That they said, this is really cool. And then somebody dropped out. Someone's had a sick child or some catastrophic thing. They drop. And they said, hey, we heard you speak. Would you come and talk? I'm not sure. So I was invited. Yeah, luck counts. Yeah, absolutely. You were ready. Yeah, yeah. All right, so the question is, what do I recommend for a person to put themselves in that opportunity? Being in the right place at the right time? Yeah, be always open, always on the lookout. And so there's an energetic thing. So this is going into the law of attraction and the area that I play in. But if you're not exuding that I'm a speaker, if you're not exuding that I have your attention, then that opportunity does not show up. And then when that happens, you run into them in a salad bar. But I have no mistake that I have your attention. And that's not a mistake. It's always part of it. And I started doing that when I first started at Queen City or Monday 6-0 doing icebreakers, and like, holy crap, what do I do? Attention. All right, so the question is, how did I prepare for it? So I wrote the entire speech. Queen City, I never write my speeches. I'm a free-flowing kind of guy. Let's see where the conversation takes us. I suggested that. They're like, no, we're not doing that. I said, okay. They're like, no, we actually need you to write every word that you're going to say. So we give them full script. Now, you're not supposed to memorize it, but it's actually, you submit that speech and then said it 1,000 times. And what worked for me is first is go from top to bottom. And then I started going from bottom to top. So it's about storytelling. So it was, have you had an opportunity to listen to my TED Talk? No, sir. Right. So there are stories that goes from point A to point B. So all those stories are like chapters of a book. So once I get the full story, and then I would start in the middle. Oh, I'm at the airport. And then I would just give the speech of walking from the airport. When the last person walked off my plane, I knew I couldn't stand there. So I said that maybe 1,000 times. And it was like, how do I say it? How do I stick that knife in and just go, feel it, feel it, feel it? Because I can tell the same story in a whole different way. But the idea is being able to control that emotion. So once it's written on the word, then it's like, okay, this story is to kick him in the balls. This story to bring him up. This story to make them feel better. And then once I control that story, then it is just working it. And then I would just work one part of the story. It's like drive to the airport or seeing Coca-Cola, seeing something else, and then keep taking things. And then at one point, I know the story so well that I could go backwards, forwards, and any which way. Of course, obviously, you can't be in a TED Talk and reading. It's not an open mic. So it's just doing it a lot of times. Here, I count on the generosity of the members that I know, they're not going to kill me if I suck. So a lot more work, a lot more work. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Turk, you have unbelievable stage presence and incredible energy up there. And my question for you, is that natural? Is that intentionally learned through Toastmasters? Did you do something else like improv? Just for those of us who would love to capture some of that, what have you done or what do you recommend?
I appreciate your appreciation. Because this is not natural. Now, I'm naturally caffeinated person, but I worked this throughout my life to get to this. And to trick to that is I usually have a routine before I go on a stage. The most important thing for me as a speaker is to capture my audience attention. So I do physical work, I really, relax my body, and I really pray, meditate, and do all this stuff, and then show up. I'm so glad you also mentioned improv, because we had an improv guy came in here many years ago, and he was like doing this bunch of stupid games. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do this. And he's like, oh, you're afraid. And I'm Turkish. I'm like, I'm not afraid of anything. But I was afraid. And one commitment that I have in my life is if I'm afraid of something, I'm gonna go face it. So then I took improv lessons. And improv, and then of course I took more, and then I actually performed with them for a year. And that really improved my game of speaking 1000%. Everyone should do at least 6 months of improv if you want to be a presenter in front of people. But I do have a routine. I listen to high electronic music. I put myself in a state to remove myself, my brain, out of the equation so that I can continue being the vessel. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that was super, very helpful. Thank you.
Of course. Google. Table topics is not improv. Not even close. Yeah, not even close. Table topics is really good for its purpose, meaning you can think on your feet. And then if you're in a meeting, you're like, okay, you can talk to people. Improv is totally cuckoo. Yeah, but it's a game changer for any speaker. Yeah, so giving TED Talk is, the question is, what are the opportunities came after? First is you can brag about it. I'm a TED Talk speaker. And then people appreciate it, people who want to actually do stuff, but it is almost like a college degree. So when you're actually with speakers, when you're in different places, that TED Talk, the fact that you've given it and people are able to see it, and when they look at the YouTube and that they see 37,000, 40,000 views, they say, hey, this guy actually has something to talk about. Other than that, it's just a party trick. Yeah. So what do you mean by iteration of the topic? No, I gave him the topic that I want. They said no. And then I said, okay, why don't I give you this? Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then, they had some questions and I'm like, this is what I'm thinking. And I said, okay, that's better. So they strongly suggested that I should go with the plan B. And I said, yeah, I can do that. Cool? Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We want to thank Turk for coming out and giving us such an energetic, awesome speech today. I love when I see someone who's seasoned and the one thing that really stood out to me that we were talking about was that he kept saying, I was a vessel. And as you guys know, I believe in God and all things Bible. And so part of that is I believe that what, so I think of, so is he. And, he said something about you can't just dream, but you have to do. And what I like to say is pursue your dreams, which brings us to number 3 of the dream sequence, is that once you get what your dream is, right? Then you start believing in that dream. He believed that he was a speaker. He said, I asked him a question. I said, how did you get into the position to where you want to be a TED Talk? That was in his mind. He already had that. So sometimes we think that if we're just dreaming about it, we're never going to do it. But Helen Keller says something. If you can dream it, you can do it. If you don't dream it, as I like to sing, when you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. If you keep the dream in your heart, your dreams will come true. I sing that and I say that over and over again in my mind, because it reminds me that if I want something to really happen, I have to pursue it. I have to believe it and I have to know it. And so with that, I love the speech and I love that opportunity to hear you, Turk. Thank you. And that brings us to our next speaker, one of my favorite people in Toastmasters, Miss Sarah Mary. And her name of her speech is Eat More Plants. It's a matter of life or death.
So Turk, like you, many people in this room have heard this speech until their ears have bled, but we're going to do it again. I'm just going to need a little help. Will you come up here? Just when I have to read this, Sean, would you mind just holding the mic for me? I'm out of finger and I'll be out of hand, but I'll let you know when. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, sorry about that. I'm out of finger and I'll be out of hand with the mic. So growing up, I was taught that food would either make us gain weight or would help us lose weight. But never was there any discussion around the fact that the food that I was eating could add years to my life or take them from me. Before I was born, my maternal grandfather had already died of cancer. By the time I was 3, my maternal grandmother had battled cancer 6 times, and on her 7th battle, she was taken from us. 6 months later, my uncle dropped dead on a tennis court due to an enlarged and inflamed heart. And shortly after that, another uncle got diagnosed with cancer and almost died on the operating table. And that was all before I was 5 years old. Then as an adult, I had to watch my paternal grandfather die a slow death to dementia, and my paternal grandmother an even slower death to a rare strand of ALS. And then my young friends started getting diagnosed with fatal diseases. Young, vibrant, 20, 30 something year olds in the prime of their life, battling for it. It didn't make sense. But at some point, I just accepted it as normal. I figured, well, I guess this is life. Disease must just be a part of it. I know that I am not the only person in this room who has had to say goodbye to a family member or a friend too soon. I know that everyone in here can think of someone that they have watched suffer tremendously to a disease or have lost to one. That's why when my aunt was diagnosed with cancer, her twin daughters, my cousins, and I were fed up. We had lost enough and we were not going to lose her too. We figured there has to be a way to stop this cycle of sickness, not only for us, but for everyone we knew and everyone they knew. We had to be able to prevent disease before it happened and not just treat it after it had already occurred. So we started researching and we kept researching. And then we researched a little bit more until one day we found it. The way to stop the cycle of sickness was simply to eat more plants. Now, I know, sounds like I'm on my soapbox, sounding like your grandparents probably telling you to eat your fruits and vegetables. Sean, would you mind? And I don't want to leave the camera scene, but let me share a little bit of the research with you. Thank you so much. And maybe I can make you a believer too. Okay, the American Heart Association. Eating plants leads to a lower risk of heart disease. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, eating plants is associated with a lower risk of cancer. PubMed, the plant-based diet is associated with favorable kidney outcomes. Neurology, eating plants can reduce the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. The British Medical Journal, plant-based diets prevent type 2 diabetes. European Journal of Nutrition, plants can slow the aging process. European Journal of Clinical Nutrition, plant-based diet help workers be more productive and happier. And my personal favorite, the Public Library of Science, add 13 years to your life just by eating more plants. Naturally, my cousins and I were thrilled. So we immersed ourselves in a field of study called nutrigenomics. Nutrigenomics studies the way that the food that we eat, how it affects our very DNA. And what we were finding was that people who ate upwards of 80% plants could turn on good genes and turn off bad ones, which meant that we did not have to inherit the diseases of our family's past, nor did we have to give them to generations of the future. We could stop the cycle of sickness, and all we had to do was eat more plants. Then we discovered the power of a telomere. A telomere acts like the cap that holds all of your DNA strands together. Over time, it naturally shortens because it represents our lifespan. But what we found was that by eating more plants, you could regenerate the length of a telomere and add quality and quantity to your life. And all you had to do was eat more plants. Naturally, we told my aunt everything that we discovered. She, my cousins, and I, we all went 100% plant-based, equipped with a diet, armed with her incredible medical treatment. My aunt beat cancer. And it wasn't magic. It was just science. And all of you can rewrite your health story too. You do not have to wait for tomorrow to be a perfect herbivore. Just try to make some small changes now. Maybe add a smoothie into your daily routine, or try a meatless Monday where you do oatmeal in the morning, a bean burrito for breakfast, and a chickpea salad for dinner. Or try plant concentrates, which are dehydrated fruits and vegetables encapsulated, and they have all the phytonutrients and vitamins your body wants. The reality is that your fork has the power to cause or prevent disease. So my hope is that all of you will tell your parents to eat more plants so that they can meet their grandchildren, maybe their great-grandchildren, and even their great-great-grandchildren. My hope is that you'll eat more plants so that the last decades of your life, that's 100, 150, can be spent dancing, traveling, laughing, and playing, and not in and out of hospitals. I want you to eat more plants so you can stop the cycles of sickness plaguing your families, and so that you can live a longer and healthier life than you ever imagined. And the solution is so simple. All you have to do is eat more plants. Thank you.
Thank you again, Sarah Mary. Did you know I knew that speech? I knew when she was about to end. So I appreciate the speech. And you know, when she first started talking about this subject of eat more plants, I was in the process of eating more plants, so it resonated with me. And for those who don't know, I'm down 90 pounds. Okay, I'm down 90 pounds because I ate more plants, and I was determined not to live my generational curses of being unhealthy, not being able to just, I just jumped just then. I don't know what that was about, but don't pay me no attention. So that was, when you learn better, you should do better. And I was at church Sunday, and my pastor was talking about the man at the well and how he had sat there for 38 years. So he was in that dream state where he was like, I'm going to get healed one day, as soon as somebody helps me. He never took the time, because see, if I was him, all you had to do was be the first person to put your foot in the water. Let's think about this. So this happened it only happened once a year or whatever, right? So my foot would always been in the water. It was something Turk just said it. You have to put that energy out that this is what I want. And he asked him, do you want to be healed? And he said, yeah, but I don't have nobody to help me. No, that's not how that works. So what I wanted to tell you from that is you have to live your dream. That is number 4. So first, you define your dream. Number 2, you believe in your dream. Number 3, you pursue your dream. Number 4 is you live your dreams. We heard people say it, live the dream. Well, I'm here to tell you that's how you actually do it, is to live the dream. And because I live the dream, I'm down to 90 pounds and still counting because I'm still working. I became a chocolate butterfly. I even got David to call me the chocolate butterfly because I kept introducing myself as such. So when you tell people what you want them to know and how you want them to perceive you, and you put that correct energy out, you'll live the dream. So with that, we're going to go further into the dream sequence today, and we're going to go to our table topics master. Oh, we're going to get a timers report. Who wants a timers report? I don't. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. We're going to get a timers report from my fellow castmate. I'm going to give this over to Toastmaster Cameron.
Thank you, Chocolate Butterfly. But I'll just say I was walking in bedroom one night and my wife is laying in bed reading a book, and it's called How Not to Die. So that book was like, so obviously you have to ask, honey, what are you reading? And so it got to talking about eat more plants. So last night for Meatless Monday, I had soybean meatballs, a quinoa cup, and broccoli. So for our timers report, Turk came in at 12 minutes and 28 seconds, and Sarah with 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Back to the chocolate butterfly.
So with that, they both qualify. You can vote for your favorite We're not going to have vote on the speakers. Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. Okay, so they both qualify if we were voting. We're not voting tonight. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to who is it? Oh, Fitzgerald. Okay, so Toastmaster Fitzgerald is going to be our topics master, and we look forward to this sequence.
Hello, everyone. I'll be your table topics master for tonight. My name is Fitzlight to those that I have not met, and for those that I have, it's nice to see you again. Table topics is a nice way for guests and fellow members to be able to practice their impromptu speaking. I'm going to ask a series of questions based on tonight's theme, and I'm going to call upon some intrepid volunteers to give a distinguished response within 1 to 2 minutes. So with that being said, would anyone like to kick us off for tonight? Nice to meet you, Cameron.
Meet you. All right, lay it on me, Fitz.
Okay, so we think about when we're younger. I know for myself, I was full of dreams and ambitions. I thought by 2032, I was definitely going to be the first president. Well, not first president, but I thought I was going to be president by 2032. And now, unfortunately, it's looking like 2044. But I'm curious, when you were younger, what was your dream job?
Right. Thank you, Toastmaster Fitz. The question was, when I was younger, what was my dream job? So I will back up to 1995. I'm in 2nd grade. And I watched my Atlanta Braves beat the Cleveland Indians in the World Series. And the very next day, I showed up in my Chipper Jones shirt, and my best friend Josh showed up in his David Justice shirt. And we both decided at that moment, right then and there, that we were both going to be professional baseball players. But not just any professional baseball player. We were going to be professional baseball players for the Atlanta Braves. I was going to be the catcher because I actually like Javi Lopez because his name's cool. And my favorite number was 8 because I was born in the 8th month of the 88th year. So, oh yeah, there's a lot of thought that went into this. And I actually remember writing an essay in 10th grade. My 10th grade English teacher, Miss Lindeman, asked us to write an essay about when it was we discovered that we weren't going to reach our dream. So I had to write an essay talking about how I discovered I wasn't going to be a professional baseball player anymore when I didn't even make the high school team in the tryouts. So I had to, Turk said that was my reality. Sucked at baseball. So anyway, but when I was in second grade in 1995, I wanted to be the next Chipper Jones. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Cameron. May I have another volunteer? Junior. All right, you ready for the question? Okay, so I would like to say a lot of us in here are high achieving people. We're doing Toastmasters to try to improve on our speaking skills. This kind of brings me to the question of, how do you define success? It doesn't have to be personal, professional, but just for you, like, how do you define success?
Great question. I thought about this question so many times over and over in my head for the past year. Last year, I became a full-time artist. I'm extremely excited. I've been following my passions, pursuing my dream. I left the corporate job for 8 years, doing what I did not like. I thought that was success. I thought that was success, going to work with that pit in my stomach, not wanting to be there, convincing myself that what I was doing was worthwhile, that I actually enjoyed it because I was making a lot of money. And I thought that was success. I thought that was it, until I didn't like it anymore. And I started realizing, I became aware of my emotions. I became aware of my feelings through meditating, through practicing reflections over and over and over again. I started to get to know who I was and what I wanted. And it became clear that I wanted to be a full-time artist. So when I think about success and what does that mean to me, I think about being able to be happy, being able to wake up without any anxiety, without any depressions, without not wanting to do something that I do not want to do. And that's when I made the promise to myself that I was going to wake up every single day and pursue my dream, pursue my passion, and live this life, the only life that I have, to the fullest extent.
Thank you, Toastmaster Junior. See, do we have time for another, maybe online? Maybe not. Oh. Okay, Heather. So while we're on the topics of dreams, let's pretend you just won $1 million. How are you going to spend that $1 million?
Thank you. That's a great question. I'm going to go on a trip. No, I'm just joking, which sounds great. I actually have I know exactly what I would do with the money. I have started a business 2 years ago. I'm in a hemp business, CBD brand, and we're emerging and we're breaking through, getting into retail stores, and we're looking to expand and go to the next level. So I would invest all of my money back into the business and hire new people, get different product lines, marketing. But basically what my biggest goal is to bring a whole team of amazing people together and all of us grow together in the expansion of health and wellness, and that's fitness and that's spirituality. And we're bringing all those components together to be amazing humans. So I would really love to, but I would definitely put all of my money back into the business and go for success. So thank you. Thank you. That was a good question.
Thank you. And let's see, do we have more time for tonight? Or? Yeah, go ahead and hand it back to our host for tonight. Oh, sorry about that. We'll have a timer support.
All right. For our timers report, yours truly came in at David's handwriting. It says 1:35. Junior had 1:27 and Heather 1:04. So 3 qualifications. Yay. back to the chocolate butterfly.
Thank you for your distinguished timers report. So with that, we're going to move on, and I'm going to introduce our general evaluator for our speeches, and that is Toastmaster Sean Sobel. I just like saying his last name.
Thank you, Toastmaster Andrea. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, honorable guests in person and online. We had 2 great speeches tonight. We only have 1 evaluator. Both of the speeches were uplifting, very awesome. And I'd like to introduce Sarah Mary's evaluator this evening, which would be Jamie. Please help me welcome Jamie to the stand.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It is my privilege to be the individual evaluator for Toastmaster Sarah Mary's speech. This is actually the second time I've heard the speech, so I enjoyed seeing how you're progressing in it. I'm going to structure my feedback on 3 dimensions: content, the structure of the speech, and then the delivery. And it seems like this is a speech that you are actively working on and want to make more of a part of your professional life. So I'm digging a little bit on some of the opportunities and potential improvement areas. But let's start with what I thought was particularly strong. On the content side, again, I think it's something you've got very polished, but what I think is very effective is the testimonials at the beginning, right, on personal loss. That absolutely draws the audience in and puts a more personal touch on the message and makes you a more authoritative speaker at the end of the day in terms of the topic. I also like that it's rich with recommendations throughout in terms of how you can change your lifestyle as well as your habits. So I think overall, you've got the content in a very polished place. I don't have much more feedback on that dimension. Structure, again, I think it's very polished. You've got a hook at the beginning. It's not just about weight loss or gain. It's about actually changing your life and potentially how many years you have on this earth. I think you do a good job of building between the call to action at the beginning, the evidence from the science throughout, then moving into specific recommendations in terms of how you change your lifestyle, and then a really effective conclusion. So again, overall, I think the structure is very polished. Delivery. You're an exceptional speaker. I think we all see that on a regular basis, whether it's your authoritative voice. I think you bring a lot of credibility. Your voice inflections are fantastic throughout. I know you practice that and you can tell where you've inserted them in. The one that resonated was battling for your life, right? That you just hit that right note at that right time. Smiling out front in the audience, great hand gestures. You actually, I can tell, woven those into the speech. So you're using very specific hand gestures to really reinforce specific messages, and then amazing eye contact. So again, all of those things are really great. Let's talk about a few things that I think could make it a more impactful speech and perhaps a more emotional speech at the end of the day. The testimonials, the studies, right, that you reference, it's too fast. You're going through them so fast that I didn't really absorb what the messages were. I think the point of it is that there's a lot of science out there that supports your hypothesis or your thesis. What I would suggest is pick a few messages that you think are really effective in terms of telling that story. And then you can list out all of the publications, the reputable publications that back that up, right? So just hit the tone, hit the messaging as much as the volume. I would also suggest thinking a little bit about where you're placing the jokes with the more poignant moments throughout the speech. I wrestled a little bit in terms of, should I laugh right now, or should I sympathize? Should I empathize? So just think a little bit maybe about the arc of how you're getting through the speech in terms of reinforcing some of the jokes. In terms of delivery, I don't know that you need the fork as a prop. It comes a little bit out of the blue. Yeah, and I think the message, it's the words, right? It's the use of language there. And it's almost like you can build it up and say you could struggle with what should I be doing right now? And the power isn't all in a fork, right? That's the message that you want to get across. I don't know that you need the prop to reinforce it. So those are just some things to think about as you continue to polish and hone. And they're all in that vein or in that mode of don't lose the momentum of the emotional appeal and the message throughout, and help your audience kind of on that journey as well. Great speech overall. Look forward to the next one.
Thank you, Jamie. As always, fantastic review, fantastic evaluation. At this point in time, I'd like to ask for our timers report. Cameron, please.
I don't need to eat more vegetables, all this exercise I'm getting. Jamie came in at 3 minutes and 37 seconds, a little long, but we'll take it. So there you go. All right. What else you want to talk about?
Thank you, Cameron. And now at this point, I believe we will be turning it over to Dr. Laxter, who will be our grammarian this evening and who has counted our uhs and ums. Dr. Laxter, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. This has been an absolutely phenomenal meeting. Great energy, very high quality. Just a couple of things to point out for opportunities for improvement. Andrea, you did a super job. A very small number of uhs and okays as you were segueing or transitioning between different things that you were saying. You did use the word of the day, as did Cameron, and I am eternally grateful for both of you for doing that. Thank you. Cameron, just a few ahs and so's. They didn't seem to interfere with what we were listening to when you were speaking. Jamie, one ah. And then I want to give major props to both of our speakers who collectively spoke for a very long time, and not a single so, and was detected on my end. So big kudos to you guys for an excellent job there. Junior, you also had no uhs and so's that I could detect. And Heather, you had a couple of ums and so's while you were transitioning during your table topics. Just a few things I want to point out. Turk, you said some things that I will probably never forget, like I'm thinking, holy crap, this is real. I'm going to give a TED talk. I thought that was really good use of those words to just raw emotion, pull us right in. And then you also said, when the rubber meets the road, you have to show up and deliver. And that is a very powerful message. Sarah Mary, just a couple things that you said as well that stood out. You can stop the cycle of sickness plaguing your family. Excellent use of the word plague in that context. And then you also said that all of you can rewrite your story too. Again, a very powerful message to all of us. And with that, I will turn it back to our general evaluator. Thank you.
Very well evaluation. Thank you, Dr. Laxter. As a general summarization of the meeting as a whole, very energetic, very positive as usual. Thank you for our guest speaker. Thank you for our other speaker as well. And yeah, no, a round of applause. And also, actually, I'd like to touch on Jamie as well. I think your evaluation is very good. It's very difficult to give an evaluation when you have such a good speaker up here. And so, Jamie, you really touched on a lot of good points. And so I always am impressed by the way you come up here and you're able to kind of but basically break down a speech and see where you can find some hidden spots. So you did a very well job of being able to articulate those and telling Sarah Mary how she can improve. Overall, great evening. Thank you. I'm always impressed every time I'm here. I'm so glad that I came. I missed last week. And so every week I'm here, I get a little bit more from everybody. So I'm very glad that I came this evening. At this point in time, I'd like to now turn it back over to our Toastmaster of the evening. Help me welcome Andrea.
And with preparation comes opportunity, and opportunities comes rewards. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to our ballot counter, Jamil. Our distinguished ballot counter is going to give a distinction.
I have tallied the ballots. I have a total, I have a winner, and for the impromptu thinking on your feet, short version, making it short and sweet. Our winner for tonight is Junior. Give it up for Junior. Junior, you ate up the competition. With that, I will turn it back over to our Toastmaster of the day.
Now that was a great improv. And so I thank you guys for going through the dream sequence with me. I hope that something I said tonight resonated with you so that you can also not only have a dream, not only believe in your dream, but pursue your dream and live the dream. And with that, I've turned it over to our president for her remarks, and my duty is off for the night.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Excellent job as always as our Toastmaster of the evening. And excellent job, of course, to our wonderful speakers and all of our participants filling in our roles. It was so fun. I always feel like I learn something new every week. And before we adjourn, I like to give the guests an opportunity to give their feedback as well. And I know we have one guest, Shaheed, joining us here on Zoom, and we have several in person. So Sean, if you want to kick us off and pass the mic around to our guests, we can hear from them on any ideas or feedback.
Yeah, thank you, Vanessa. Yeah, I'd like to reintroduce our guest again. Jennifer, can you tell us your thoughts on this evening?
Hi, everybody. Again, I'm Jennifer. Holy shit. I have never been to anything like this. I teach yoga and I've spoken in front of groups, but never where I'm being tested. So it's really amazing to see all of you and to watch you share your stories. Y'all were great. I don't really have any feedback other than I'm just really grateful to be here. And it was really nice to be a fly on the wall tonight. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, we welcome you anytime. Vanessa, I believe, do we have any more members on? I think we have a member on Zoom.
We do have a guest, Shaheed Brooks. Shaheed, if you're still online, we can pass the virtual microphone over to you if you want to share any feedback. I think you might be on mute, Shaheed, sorry.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I really enjoyed the speeches. I thought that everyone was very well spoken, and I really appreciated you guys sharing your thoughts with me today. This was my first Toastmasters meeting ever, and I'm leaving inspired. So thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us, and you're welcome to come visit us next Tuesday. All right, do we have any other special announcements from officers before we wrap up?
I would just like to say thank you to Vanessa. This is her last meeting as president. She was actually interim president for 6 months because for some reason Queen City went to calendar year. So we went to fiscal year 7-1 to 7-1. We needed somebody to fill in for 6 months. Vanessa was a president during pandemic. She got us on the Zoom. She got us through it, and we were still a distinguished club. And so I appreciate all of your hard work and you stepping in again. So thank you.
Thanks. And thank you so much to a very supportive club executive board who was always there. And David, of course, your leadership has been wonderful as immediate past president. So I'm excited to have Elvis stepping into this role starting next Tuesday. And I will still be on the board as immediate past president. So I'll see you all soon.
All right, perfect. And Elvis sitting in the back with the hat on. He's our next president. Next Tuesday, he'll be running the meeting. So, and of course, Jennifer, in the next few weeks, hopefully, she's going to come talk to us about a podcast. So that'll be fun to look. And special thanks to Turk for coming and talking to us. And anytime you want to come back and talk about anything, you bring the energy. So thanks. And with that, I'll let you close out the meeting, Vanessa.
All right. Yes, everyone have an awesome evening, and I'll see you all on Tuesday next week.
Perfect. Thank you.